Project Horizon. In 1959, long before Neil Armstrong took his first steps on the moon, the United States military had a far more aggressive plan. They didn't just want to visit the moon, they wanted to weaponize it. A declassified top-secret study proposed building a manned military outpost on the lunar surface by 1966. The plan involved using dozens of Saturn rockets to transport construction materials, establishing a nuclear power plant on the lunar crust, and setting up a surveillance station to spy on Earth. Most disturbingly, the blueprint included deploying nuclear landmines across the lunar landscape to defend the base against potential Soviet invaders. The government realized that whoever controlled the high ground of space controlled the planet below. While the project was officially canceled due to extreme costs and engineering limitations, it proved that the space race was never purely about exploration. It was a race for ultimate military dominance, hidden behind the clean, heroic imagery of civilian astronauts. The lost cosmonauts. Official history records Yuri Gagarin as the first human to enter space in 1961 and return alive. But decades of rumors and leaked audio suggest a darker truth. Two Italian amateur radio operators, the Giudica Cordiglia brothers, set up a listening post and allegedly intercepted several terrifying transmissions from the Soviet space program before Gagarin's flight. One recording captures a woman's frantic voice as her spacecraft re-enters the atmosphere, crying out that she is burning up and asking if her ship will crash. Another records the faint, irregular heartbeat of a dying astronaut, drifting further into the deep, frozen void. The theory goes that the Soviet Union, desperate to win the propaganda war, covered up multiple fatal failures, erasing these pioneering pilots from the history books as if they never existed. While modern historians debate the authenticity of some recordings, the absolute secrecy surrounding early space programs means we may never truly know how many bodies are still floating out there in the dark. Starfish Prime. In July 1962, the United States government decided to find out what would happen if they detonated a nuclear bomb in space. They launched a 1.4 megaton warhead 400 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean. The result was a terrifying display of human recklessness. The explosion created a blinding artificial aurora that could be seen thousands of kilometers away in Hawaii, turning the night sky into a vivid, unnatural shade of blood red. It generated an unexpected electromagnetic pulse so powerful that it knocked out streetlights, disrupted telephone lines, and blew out electronic systems across the region. But the real hidden consequence happened higher up. The blast created a massive artificial radiation belt around the Earth that lingered for years, inadvertently destroying at least 1/3 of all low Earth orbit satellites operating at the time. It was a stark reminder that governments were willing to risk blinding our entire planet just to test the limits of cosmic warfare. Project Westford. During the height of the Cold War, the American military faced a critical vulnerability. Their global communications relied heavily on undersea cables and the natural ionosphere. They feared the Soviet Union would cut these physical cables, completely cutting off America from its allies. To solve this, the government launched an incredibly bizarre experiment in 1963. They dumped 480 million copper needles into orbit around the Earth. The goal was to create a massive artificial radio reflector ring that would bounce signals across the globe, completely immune to Soviet sabotage. While it temporarily worked, astronomers worldwide were furious as the cloud of metal needles severely disrupted telescopes and radio observations. Eventually, gravity pulled most of the needles back into the atmosphere, where they burned up. However, thousands of clusters of these needles are still floating in orbit today, forming a permanent, hazardous ring of classified military debris that threatens modern space travel. Project Thor. Commonly known as the rods from God, this concept represents the ultimate loophole in international space treaties. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 strictly prohibits placing weapons of mass destruction, like nuclear warheads, into orbit. To bypass this, the United States military envisioned a weapon that required absolutely no explosives. Project Thor involved a satellite armed with massive telephone pole-sized cylinders made of solid tungsten. When fired, these rods would plunge toward Earth, guided by a simple satellite system, striking the surface at Mach 10. The sheer kinetic energy released upon impact would equal the destructive force of a tactical nuclear bomb, capable of obliterating underground bunkers and entire military bases without releasing a single speck of radiation. The beauty and terror of the weapon lay in its speed. From orbit to impact took less than 15 minutes, leaving target countries with zero time to react or defend themselves. The project is officially classified as a conceptual failure, but rumors persist that the technology remains dormant, waiting in the shadows. The post-detection protocols. If an independent astronomer or an elite university detects an undeniable intelligent signal from an alien civilization tomorrow, you will not hear about it on the news, at least not immediately. The government has strict, classified protocols for what happens after the first contact. According to official guidelines developed by international committees, the discoverer must first verify the signal with other astronomers to rule out any human error or equipment malfunction. However, behind closed doors, national security agencies maintain immediate override authority. The signal would be classified instantly under the guise of preventing mass panic. The government's primary fear isn't just the public reaction, it is the race to decipher the transmission. Whoever decodes advanced alien technology first gains an unimaginable geopolitical and military advantage over the rest of the world. The flow of cosmic information would be entirely choked, analyzed, and weaponized long before the public is ever told that we are not alone.
The Vela Incident.
In September 1979, an American Vela satellite designed to monitor compliance with nuclear test ban treaties detected a distinct double flash of light in the remote southern ocean near Antarctica. In the world of nuclear surveillance, a double flash is the unmistakable signature of an atomic explosion. The government immediately scrambled to investigate, but the findings were quickly buried in a mountain of bureaucratic contradictions. A panel of scientists appointed by the White House claimed the flash was likely caused by a tiny meteoroid striking the satellite's sensors. However, intelligence insiders and independent analysts knew better. The weather patterns, hydroacoustic data, and trace radiation found in sheep tissues in nearby regions strongly suggested a secret joint nuclear test conducted by Israel and South Africa. The American government allegedly chose to suppress the truth to avoid a massive diplomatic crisis and maintain geopolitical stability, demonstrating that cosmic monitoring systems are frequently used to hide earthly secrets. The Kessler Syndrome. Space looks like an endless empty void, but low Earth orbit is becoming an overcrowded junkyard, and governments are terrified of the breaking point. Every time a rocket launches, it leaves behind debris, paint flecks, frozen coolant, and dead satellites. Right now, millions of pieces of space junk are orbiting Earth at speeds exceeding 28,000 kilometers per hour. At that velocity, a tiny flake of paint possesses the kinetic energy of a speeding bullet. The Kessler Syndrome is a theoretical scenario where the density of objects in orbit becomes so high that a single collision triggers a catastrophic chain reaction. One dead satellite hits another, shattering into thousands of pieces, which then smash into other satellites. Within days, low Earth orbit would become a chaotic, swirling cloud of hypervelocity shrapnel. This would instantly destroy global communication networks, GPS, weather tracking, and military surveillance, effectively trapping humanity on Earth for generations. Governments quietly track this crisis daily, fully aware that a single rogue anti-satellite test could trigger a modern dark age. Solar superstorms. The sun is a volatile, raging ball of plasma, and every few centuries it throws a massive tantrum. In 1859, a solar storm known as the Carrington event slammed into Earth, causing telegraph wires to burst into flames and creating auroras so bright that people could read the newspaper at midnight. If a storm of that magnitude hit us today, the results would be apocalyptic. The intense geomagnetic currents would overload and melt the massive transformers powering our modern electrical grids. Governments are fully aware that a severe solar superstorm could plunge entire continents into absolute darkness, knocking out electricity, water treatment facilities, refrigeration, and internet infrastructure for months or even years. Despite this existential threat, national power grids remain largely unprotected due to the staggering costs of upgrading them. Instead of fixing the problem, authorities rely on classified contingency plans that focus on maintaining military continuity and government survival, leaving civilian populations completely unprepared for a cosmic blackout. The Kuiper Belt anomaly. At the outermost edges of our solar system, far beyond the orbit of Neptune, lies a frozen ring of icy debris called the Kuiper Belt. For years, astronomers have noticed something deeply disturbing about the orbits of the objects in this region. They're strangely skewed and clustered together, pulled out of alignment by an invisible, immense gravitational force. The prevailing scientific theory is the existence of Planet 9, a massive, undiscovered world hiding in the deep dark. However, some classified studies suggest a far more unsettling possibility. The anomaly could be caused by a primordial black hole, no larger than a bowling ball, but with the mass of 10 Earths, trapped in a distant orbit around our Sun. Tracking such an object is nearly impossible because it emits no light. The government's silence on the matter keeps the public looking inward, while our solar system might actually be orbiting a tiny ancient remnant of the Big Bang, silently warping the fabric of space just outside our cosmic backyard.